All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So the first joint practice between the New York Jets and the Carolina Panthers just wrapped up, and man, there's a lot of stuff to dive into here. But first, we have to talk about the players that didn't practice for the Jets. Garrett Wilson, still not fully 100%. He's not out there. He was limited, according to Robert Saleh. And on the surface, it's like, man, Garrett's missing, quite a few practices here. But then, on the other hand, it's like, it seems like the Jets are further along in the offseason because of training camp starting early and having the Hall of Fame game, right? If you look at across the NFL, outside of the Cleveland Browns, of course, teams are just starting to get rolling here, right? What is it, 30-something days before week one against the Buffalo Bills? So play it safe, don't be sorry, don't rush Wilson back, and that's not what the Jets are doing. But Carl Lawson also missing another practice due to the back tightness. He's missed multiple days, and he was held out yesterday, and personally I was thinking, okay, well, they're probably, holding him out, that way he's ready for the joint practices against Carolina, right? The two practices today and tomorrow. But again, according to Saleh, it's more of a precautionary measure. They're holding him out again, or they held him out again today. And then Sauce Gardner dealing with a quad, nothing too serious, according to Saleh, just another precautionary thing. They don't want to rush guys out there if they're not 1,000% ready to play. In regards to Dwayne Brown, he didn't want to put a timetable on it. In fact, he actually made a joke about like the PR team telling him don't put a timetable on things. But he did indicate that it's looking like Dwayne Brown should be back before week one. So good stuff there. Personally, you guys know I have my questions right now about the tackle position. If we're looking at like a week of practices for Dwayne Brown, I think there's definitely some intriguing options out on the market, right? Whether that's a free agent or a potential trade, or maybe, who knows, maybe somebody gets waived, when we see the roster cut downs. But in any case, Dwayne Brown, again, according to Saleh, should be back before week one. So I guess that's a positive there. Moving on to the quarterback situation for the preseason game, Bryce Young is going to start for Carolina, and then for the Jets, Rodgers is not playing as expected. It's going to be Zach Wilson, and then Tim Boyle backing up. Saleh did say too in that same presser that the team is actually like okay with the three guys. They're not looking to go out and make another move, add another veteran, get that fourth QB in there. It's looking like they're just going to be rolling with the three guys in camp, and then in preseason games, or as far as this preseason game is concerned, just Wilson and Boyle. Now, shifting gears and talking about the trenches, supposedly the Jets defensive line looked really good, as well as the Carolina Panthers defensive line, and this was my biggest matchup kind of going into these joint practices, right? How will the Jets starting offensive line, given the injuries, look against the talented Panthers defensive line, right? Derek Brown is a straight bully on the inside. The dude just manhandles people. Loved him back at Auburn. Thought that was a slam dunk pick by them, obviously in the top 10. But Brian Burns is lightning quick off the edge. He can put moves on tackles and just slip around them like it's no big deal whatsoever. 38 sacks in 4 years. I mean, this guy's entering his prime now. Brian Burns he's incredible, right? So that was a major key for me, right? How does Becton, how does Max Mitchell, how do these tackles look going up against, in my opinion, one of the best pass rushers in all of football? And Brian Burns was doing his thing out there, unfortunately. Apparently, Burns actually ripped right past Max Mitchell for an easy sack against Rodgers, and A-Rod was not happy about it. At one point, Justin Houston and Brian Burns were like joking around and celebrating after holding the Jets offense or stopping them on a 2-minute drive, forcing the Jets to punt. What else? Burns got in the face of Aaron Rodgers at one point. And I remember watching early this morning the Jets training camp preview where they were highlighting, one-on-one drills between the O-line and the D-line. And at one point, Burns lined up against Mekhi Becton and put this spin move on him and just went right by him like it was nothing. I mean, this dude's legit. Brian Burns is legit. Panthers fans, man, you guys have a great player in Brian here. But yeah, multiple sacks on the day. Dude played out of his mind. Now, when we look at quarterback play, according to multiple reports here, Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good overall, completing a bunch of passes, looking in charge, not really looking flustered or anything like that. Had a touchdown pass to, I believe it was Allen Lazard, and it was, again, reported by multiple people here. The Jets offense was able to have success moving up and down the field against the Panthers' first-team defense, which is awesome. Zach Wilson, on the other hand, it did seem, according to reports, that he struggled. He had a couple of picks. So, for me, it sucks, obviously, but it is what it is. I would much rather have the interceptions taking place early in a training camp practice than in a pivotal game on Sunday, right? I think this is why training camps, these practices are in place, especially when we're talking about joint practices. The one thing that everybody has to remember, yes, of course, they're going up against different players, different strengths, different weaknesses, a different scheme, a different coaching staff, right? Guys that they aren't necessarily used to seeing, because, up to this point, the Jets have just been practicing against themselves. So there's going to be moments where, players are going to think, man, I haven't seen this look before. Where do I go with the football? What do I do here? It's new. And obviously, it's a situation when the Jets are traveling down to Carolina. So it is what it is. It is what it is. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. If the entire team struggled and Carolina, was running circles around the Jets the entire day, yeah, I think I would have an issue. But as of right now, it did seem like, even though a couple positions struggled, and a couple Carolina Panthers defenders shined and whatnot, overall, it seemed like it was a pretty evenly matched day. In regards to Bryce Young, supposedly, according to numerous people, he looked really good. And I gotta say, I'm a bit surprised. Everybody knows how good the Jets defense is, but more importantly, and this is the point that I was going to talk about before, these are training camp practices. It's not like, that, yes, of course, we're playing a preseason game, but it's not like a regular season game. It's not like a playoff game where you have your entire week as an organization, as an offense, breaking down film, dissecting every little thing, coming up with a game plan, installing it, going through practices, with that game plan in mind, having simulated defense mirroring the Jets' looks. Like, they're just kind of going out, like, this is practice for both sides. So obviously Bryce Young has never played in a game, and of course he's an extremely talented quarterback, number 1 overall pick. I can't wait to see what Bryce Young does at the once the regular season hits and all that good stuff. I'm gonna be pulling for him. I think he's gonna be pretty good. But it's like, man, first day of joint practice, I thought maybe he was going to be a bit overwhelmed at the Jets, completely different. I mean, Carolina runs like a base 3-4. They do things differently. So I was checking out some of these video clips. It's perfectly thrown passes right over defenders' heads. At points, guys were wide open, and Young was having success. He was having success. So, you tip your cap and hope that the defense can look a little bit better tomorrow in the second practice, and then, of course, in the game. But another practice is in the books, and hopefully, both sides took something positive away from it. It's looking like tomorrow should be a lighter day in practice. Friday, walkthroughs, and then Saturday, the game, which I believe kicks off at 4 p.m. Eastern. So, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.